Hi students, welcome back to Appleby Academy's classes. So in this video, we are going to discuss about the previous year question from the area of network analysis, and specifically we are going to discuss a question from December 2018 to December 2023. So we already discussed about network analysis, about CPM, PERT and all. Now we will be discussing about this previous year question. So we'll start with the first question. So the first question is just got asked you on December 2018. The following statement related to project network. Choose the correct code for the statement being correct or incorrect. So here you have two statements and you need to identify whether they are wrong or right. Okay. So the statement 1 is an activity cannot be represented by more than one arrow, but an arrow can represent one or more activity. Statement 2, the activities in a critical path can be preponed or postponed. So for answering this particular question, you should know about this critical activity and about how we are representing an activity, an event, etc. So when you're just coming to this diagram, you can see this is the way how we are representing or how we are presenting an activity or event. So an event you have to be written in this circle, you have to write it in that part, and it is connected with two events are actually connected with an activity and with an arrow. Okay, so tail event to head event. Okay, this is the way how it is going. So this is a basic representation, and when you're just coming to a particular process, it can be like, see, one event you can connect it with event 3, and event 2 is also connected with event 3. Here what you can see that an activity is represented by a single line, okay, single arrow, and a particular arrow represents a particular activity. But if it is coming to an event, you can actually make a connection with two activities also, that's okay, fine. But an arrow represents a particular activity, okay, that's the thing. And when you're coming to think about this critical activity, see, we are discussing about this critical activity in case of critical path. In case of CPM, we are actually discussing about this critical activity. So in that case, you need to make a differentiation between critical and non-critical activities, because critical activities are those activities which is more important, and when you are considering about this critical activity, you have to be very clear, or you should not be able to prepone or postpone the time which is related to that, okay, because which is very important, or that such an alteration is not possible in case of critical activities. Each critical activity will not have any cushion time to either postpone or prepone its starting time. So if its starting time is specified, you have to start within that time itself. Okay, you can't make any relaxation related to that. That's why it is specified that you can't postpone or prepone, because we already mentioned about the critical activity, we already specified about the critical path, and when you are making a change, or when you are making some relaxation in case of this critical activity, entire activities will be delayed. So you can't do like that. So in that situation, critical activity can't be preponed or postponed, but coming to non-critical activity, there is some relaxation. If you want, you can make some alterations. Okay, so there is a cushion time to either postpone or prepone its starting time from the original starting time. That's fine, but it's not possible in case of a critical activity. Okay, so when you are coming back to this question, the first statement is saying an activity cannot be represented by more than one arrow. That's right. Okay, you need to represent an activity with one arrow itself, but an arrow can represent one or more activities. That is not correct. With one arrow, you are actually representing an activity. So that is false. So first statement is wrong. The activities in a critical path can be preponed. Activities in critical path means they are known as critical activities. The activities which is coming in case of critical path, which is known as critical activities. So it is mentioned that a critical activity can be preponed or postponed. Can't be preponed or postponed? No, it's not possible. So what you can say that both statements are incorrect. So which is the statement you can go for? Option B. Both statement 1 and 2 are incorrect. So moving to next question, which is on June 2019. Read the following regard to PERT and CPM. So if you got a perfect idea related to PERT and CPM, it is very easy for you to answer this particular question. So before going to this particular question, let me show you some differences between PERT and CPM. So when you are coming to PERT, when you are dealing with PERT, it is actually used to manage uncertain activities of a project, okay, which is mainly used for uncertain activities. That means which is when you are not able to predict all these activities, or when you are not very specific about that particular project, it will be easy for you to go through PERT. But if it is if you are able to make a defined structure for a particular project, then you can use CPM, which manages well-defined activities of a project. In case of PERT, it's a technique of planning and control of time. It is giving more focus to time. But in case of CPM, it is giving an importance to both cost and time. But when you are making a differentiation, you can say that it is giving more focus to cost rather than time. In case of PERT, it is event oriented. It is giving more focus to events. But in case of CPM, it is giving more focus to activity. So when there is a question like which is an activity oriented diagram or which is a event oriented diagram, you should be very specific. Event oriented is PERT and activity oriented is CPM. Then PERT is normally which is evolved as a research and development of project. See, because in case of research, we know that we are not very certain, or it is not easy for you to make an exact time or exact activities which is involved in it. But in case of repeated activities, it's easy for you to make a perfect analysis or identify the activities and all. So in such a case, you can go for CPM, so that we are using it in case of construction projects. Okay. So as we already know, PERT is something which is used in case of uncertain activity. We are using some probabilities. So it is probabilistic model, but in case of CPM, we are able to identify each and every activity. So that is deterministic model. As I already mentioned, PERT is giving focus to time. In case of CPM, it is making a comparison between both time and cost, but it is giving more importance to cost. That point is very important. Okay, and now we are able to answer this question with this information. The first one, PERT is probabilistic in nature and CPM is deterministic in nature. Is it correct? Yes, option A is correct. So now you can go through the options and you need to identify whether option is there. So in all options, option A is there. So now we are not able to eliminate any options. We will go through the second statement. PERT is more suitable for new as well as old project, but CPM is of great value of project that are repetitive. Is that right? Second part is right. That is, CPM is a great value project that are used for repetitive nature. But commonly, PERT is more suitable for new projects, not all project. If it is like, if you have a reference with all project, then it will be easy for you to make some, it is easy for you to have an estimation or easy for you to have to determine the various activities and also, which is not actually used for all projects. So in that sense, you can't go for option B. Okay, that's a mistake which is given in option B. So again, we can go through the options. So you need to identify or you can eliminate an option with B. So which option you can eliminate in this stage? You can eliminate option C because B is present there. Okay. Now you got three options, right? Okay. So again, we are going back to our question. PERT focuses primarily on time element and attaches less significance on cost. On contrary, CPM puts stronger emphasis on cost, which is right. Which is right. Okay. So which we already discussed. So C is right. So A and C are correct. And again, we'll be going to the options. In this situation, you can actually eliminate this option, option A. Why we are eliminating option A? Because C is not there. C is not there, so that we can eliminate option A. Now you got two options, A, C, D or A, C. So if D is right, you can go for option B. If D is wrong, you can go for option B. Okay. So PERT is an activity oriented, CPM is an event oriented. PERT is event oriented. Okay. PERT is event oriented, CPM is activity oriented. So that statement is also wrong. Option D is also wrong. So which option you can actually go for? Option D is here. So you need to eliminate this option. So the correct option for this question is option D. So this is the way how you need to answer a particular question when it is like a combination. When it is a combination type of question. Okay. Now coming back to another question that is on December 2022. So it's a match the following question, and list 1 it's about project network concepts, and list 2 is about the meaning which is related to that. So crashing an activity, project network, critical path, crash point. Okay, so you need to know about all these statements before getting into this particular question. So what do you mean by crashing an activity? Crashing an activity means it's about shortening the duration of a particular project, like if how much you can reduce the time for completing a particular project. That is actually related to crashing, reducing the time for a particular project. When such a situation is normally coming, see, either it can be due to some activities where delayed, or the client is willing to pay more for earlier completion. That means, okay, if the client is saying I need to complete it within this much of days, I will pay you much more than which I promised. So if such a situation, the company is actually deciding to have a crashing of activity, and in some cases when this the other situation we are doing this crashing an activity when some activities go delayed. In that situation you need to speed up your process. Okay, so in that situation also you can go for crashing an activity. So how will crash or how will go through this process? So when it is about crashing of activity, you need to complete a project with lesser time or with lesser duration. In that situation, you may use more resources, you can use more machines, or you can use more human resources. Okay, so the cost will be more. But as I already mentioned, it is needed, which is required in that situation. That's why. It involves taking special measures which can be costly to expedite the completion of activity, because here our aim is to make that activity or complete that activity within or as much as earlier as possible. In that situation, cost is fine. Also, it includes adding more resources, working overtime, and or using specialized equipment to accelerate the work. All these will happen in case of a crashing an activity. So crashing an activity allows for shorter overall project duration, but often comes with additional cost. So crashing an activity is actually resulted in reducing time for completion of a project, but what's the point? That will increase your cost, because for that maybe we need to employ additional workers, or we need to use additional equipments, or it's about some additional time or extra time you need to work. All these can be costly, but still our point is to make the project or finish the project as much as earlier as possible. And what is this crash point? The time and cost associated with fully crashing an activity in a project. So fully crashing an activity means reducing its duration, but to the shortest possible time, but by applying all available measures, as I already mentioned. So here this crash point helps in evaluating the impact of crash activity on project timelines and cost. So what is this crash point? It is to make an evaluation, or which helps in evaluating the impact of this crashing activity. Okay, we got crashed this activity, so what was its impact? That will be measured with the help of crash point. Okay, so that is what is the effect means. It's about the time and cost. So how much extra time or how much cost you need to spend extra for this crashing an activity. So the time and cost related to crashing an activity is known as crashing point. Okay. So critical, as we already discussed about critical path and project network. Project network is the basic thing that we are discussing about. So it is easy for you to, now it's easy for you to make an understanding about all these things. So let me start with the first one, crashing an activity, which will be the right one. Crashing means it's about reducing the duration. See, taking special costly measures to reduce the duration of activity below its normal value. That is crashing an activity. So you can actually go for A4. So now you need to come back to your options and you need to identify the option with A4. So you can find two options. In that sense, you can actually eliminate option A and option B. Okay. So in that case, you can see that A4, B3. So A4, if A4 is right, B3 is also right, then you need to identify for C. It will be easy for you to come back to this question. So B3 is obvious. So project network, it consists of a number of nodes and numbers of arcs that connects two different nodes, right? So when you are just taking the network diagram, you can see various arrows and various nodes which is connected in case of network diagram. So you can actually go for B3. And what about a critical path? C, length of the longest path through the project network. So critical part means it's about the longest part, right? So you can actually go for C1 also. And what about D point? It shows the time and course when the activity is fully crushed. That means if you're able to do this crushing activity, then it's showing about the time and course related to crushing an activity. Okay. So it's just like C1 and D2. C1 and D2. It's like option B, right? Okay. So the correct answer for this question is option B. Moving to another question, this is actually a numerical problem from the area of this network analysis. For project activity, the optimistic, the pessimistic and the most likely times are 4, 14 and 6. As we know that when you are dealing with various times, so we already discussed about optimistic time, pessimistic time, most likely times. So all these times, the times is given, and based on that you need to calculate the average time. Okay. So how we will calculate? When you are coming to this equation, the equation for calculating average time is optimistic time plus 4 multiplied by most likely time plus pessimistic time divided by 6. This is the equation which helps you to calculate average time. And for answering this question, you should know about these 3 times, which is already given there. Okay, optimistic time is 4 days, pessimistic is 14, most likely is 6 days. So everything is there, then it will be easy for you to calculate, right? So when you're just coming to its calculation, 4 plus 4 into 6, as its multiplication, you have to do it separately, okay? That's why I just put into a separate bracket, then plus 14 pessimistic and divided by 6. So first you have to do is, you have to multiply 4 with 6, then you will get 24. So 4 plus 24 plus 40. Okay, then you have to add this value, then only you go for division as it is given in bracket. So 4 plus 24 plus 14, what about the value? Which is 42, right? Which is 42, and 42 by 6 is 7. 7 6 are 42, right? So which is the answer? Which is 7 days. Okay. So when you are preparing for the next exam, go through this equation also. Okay. You can actually expect problem question also from this network analysis. So 7 days, just go through the equation, and if you know about the equation, it will be very easy for you to calculate. As they got asked to, like, this is a direct question to calculate average time. Maybe for the next time, they can give you average time and they can ask like for calculating optimistic or pessimistic or most likely time, which is also possible. Okay. Next question, which is on December 2023. Again, a question from you need to identify the primary difference between CPM and PERT. What's the basic difference between them? So, we already mentioned about all these things, right? We know about the time estimates, and we will just discuss again with something related to the CPM and PERT. So, when you are coming to this PERT and CPM, as we already discussed the basic difference, some more difference which you have to deal with. In case of estimators, we know that PERT is giving more focus to time. Here there are more time estimates are there. Actually, we are discussing 3 time estimates in case of PERT. So lastly, we have done some problem. Okay, in that case, you find 3 time estimates: pessimistic, optimistic, most likely. So that is what is related to PERT, as there is 3 time estimates. Which are the 3 time estimates? Pessimistic, optimistic and most likely. But CPM is not something giving more focus to time, so that there is only 1 time estimate is given. And in case of PERT, high precision time estimate, because it is giving focus to time. That's why. But in case of CPM, it is like some reasonable time estimate. And we know that in case of PERT, we are discussing about unpredictable activity, but in case of CPM, we are using predictable activity, because CPM is actually applied in case of routine nature work, or which is happening on a repetitive nature. But it is not that in case of a PERT. So anyway, coming back to this question, what's the primary difference? PERT has 1 time estimate. Is that right? No, which is wrong. CPM has 3 time estimate. That is also wrong. Okay, it is just like PERT has 3 time estimate and CPM has 1 time estimate. So option A is not correct. What about option B? PERT has 2 time estimate and CPM has 3 time. That's also wrong. Then option C, PERT has 3 time estimate and CPM requires only 1 time factor for each activity. That is true. Finally, PERT makes the assumption that activities time are known with certainty. CPM employs 3 time estimate to complete expected value. No. There is no 3 time estimate used in case of CPM, and in case of PERT also, we are not very certain about the activities, because which is something like some rare or unpredictable activities are actually discussed in case of PERT. So in that sense also D is not right. So which is the correct answer for this question? That is option C. PERT has 3 time estimates and CPM requires only 1 time factor for each activity. Okay. So in this video, we discussed about the previous year question from the area of network analysis, that is specifically from December 2018 to December 2023, and just do work on these areas and just identify how this question got asked from this particular area. And I hope this video will help you for your preparation. Thank you and happy learning.